most insane thing your parents ever convinced themselves was normal? My family went from celebrating my sister's cancer recovery to planning actual murders in less than 6 months. Ellie went into remission when she was 8, but the treatment had left her with a compromised immune system. She had to stay isolated in her room most of the time, which meant we kept the windows closed and the air was always stale. That's when the plants in her room started dying from lack of proper ventilation and sunlight. My parents watered them obsessively trying to help, but they just made the soil moldy and killed the roots. At first, my parents were just sad about the dead flowers, but then our three-legged cat Legolas started getting sick. He was already 15 years old and had been losing weight for months before Ellie even got home from the hospital. When the vet explained kidney disease, my mom just nodded, but I could tell she wasn't really listening anymore. When Legolas died, right after spending his last few days sleeping in Ellie's room, I found my mom sitting on Ellie's floor at 3 a.m., stroking the dead cat and whispering, "Thank you for saving her," over and over. I backed out of the room slowly because seeing my mom like that made my stomach turn. Instead of accepting that their old cat had died naturally, my mom started saying that Ellie was somehow absorbing life energy to stay healthy. She said the cancer had changed Ellie, and now she needed to take life force from other living things to survive. My dad thought it sounded insane at first, but Ellie did seem to have more energy after Legolas died. Of course she did because she wasn't depressed about her sick cat anymore, and her new medication was finally working, but my parents ignored the obvious explanations. They decided that Ellie was some kind of miracle child who could heal herself by draining other creatures. They started bringing home plants specifically for Ellie to supposedly drain. They would put them in her room with no sunlight or proper care and act shocked when they died overnight. My mom would say, "Look how much stronger Ellie is today," even though Ellie was just following her normal recovery timeline that the doctors had predicted. Then they escalated to small animals. They bought hamsters and put them in Ellie's stuffy room with no proper ventilation or temperature control. The hamsters would scratch frantically at the cage walls all night in the stuffy room until they collapsed from exhaustion. My dad actually clapped when he found a dead hamster, and my mom started crying happy tears saying, "It's working, it's really working." I felt sick watching them celebrate a dead animal like it was some kind of victory. They completely ignored that small animals were fragile and died easily from environmental stress. My brother Landon and I tried to explain that correlation didn't equal causation, but they said we were being jealous and close-minded. My mom started buying rabbits and guinea pigs and setting up these makeshift cages around Ellie's bed. She wouldn't let us open windows or adjust the temperature because she said it might interfere with Ellie's healing process. Of course, the animals kept dying from the terrible conditions. The breaking point came when our neighbor's old dog got into our yard and died of a heart attack near Ellie's window. Rex was 20 years old and had been sick for months, but my parents acted like Ellie had killed him from a distance. My dad said, "Her power is growing. Imagine what she could do if we brought her stronger sources." That's when they started researching homeless shelters and nursing homes. I caught my mom on video calls at midnight with other parents, all of them sharing spreadsheets of energy sources and whispering about their special children. I stood in the hallway listening and felt like I was going to throw up. My mom came back with plans about how to get Ellie near dying people so she could supposedly absorb their remaining life force. She said, "Ellie could live forever if we just help her reach her full potential." One weekend, I found them making lists of elderly patients and homeless people they could potentially access. When I confronted them, my dad said, "You don't understand science like we do. Ellie needs this to survive, and these people are going to die anyway." Ellie had no idea what our parents were planning because she was just a kid who was happy to be feeling better. Her recovery was totally normal according to her doctors, but my parents had created this elaborate fantasy where she was some kind of life-draining miracle. I ended up staying at my friend's house because my hands shook every time I saw my parents researching visitor policies at the local hospice. That's when I finally called the police and told them everything. My parents were arrested before they could hurt anyone, and Ellie went to live with our aunt. She's doing great now and has no idea how close our parents came to becoming killers over their twisted fantasy.